about being present, and it's about evangelism. How do we share the good news in the world we live now? The past few weeks we looked at a few stories. Today we'll focus on storytelling, and the specifically giving your testimony. In the weeks that passed, we looked at truth telling, the invitational style, and then today storytelling. Next week will be friendship, and then service in 2 weeks' time. So let's jump right into it. The gospel, for many people, for many years, was just this story. There was the fall of man, and then the redemption of Jesus Christ did on the cross, and we're going to get saved and we can go to heaven. And that's a beautiful story, but it's a limited story. And George Barna called this the 2-chapter gospel. And he said it doesn't give you any reason for existence. It doesn't show you why we are here. But if you see the 4-chapter gospel, the creation narrative, it starts with God created man, and he created man in his image. And then there was the fall of man, and then the redemption of Jesus Christ, and then there's the full restoration of everything. And that is the good news. God wants to restore you to his original intent for man, to rule with him, to be a son and daughter of God in his creation narrative. So let's look at the blind man. In John 9. John 9, we read this beautiful story that is almost at a point, it gets ridiculous when you read it and say, but these guys, they don't get it at all. So if we go to John 9, we're going to read from the NIV. As he went along, he saw a blind man from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? So this was a normal question. If someone was born blind, there must be a reason. It must be, and those days they believed if you were born blind, it is either your parents sinned or God knew of some sin you were going to do in the future, so he just struck you with blindness from birth. That's a terrible way of looking at the world. Jesus answers, neither this man nor his parents sinned, but this happened so that the works of God may be displayed in him. As long as it is day, we must do the works of him. We must do the works of the one who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world. One of Jesus' big I am statements. After saying this, he spit on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. Go, he told him, and wash in the pool of Siloam. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. His neighbors and those who had formerly seen him begging asked, isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg? Some claimed that he was. Others said, no, it only looks like him. But he himself insisted, I'm that man. How then were your eyes opened, they asked. He replied, the man they called Jesus made some mud and put it in my eyes. He told me to go wash in Siloam. And so I went and washed, and now I can see. Where is this man, they asked. I don't know, he said. They brought to the Pharisees the man who had been blind. Now the day on which Jesus made the mud and opened the man's eye was a Sabbath. Therefore the Pharisees also asked him how he had received his sight. He put mud in my eyes, the man replied, and I washed, and now I see. Some of the Pharisees said, this man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath. Because when you're making mud, you're doing work, so Jesus didn't keep the Sabbath. But others asked, how can a sinner perform such signs? So they were divided. So the Pharisees were like having an argument about how can this be? Because he worked, but it worked. The guy can see now. Then they turned again to the blind man. What have you to say about him? It was your eyes he opened. The man replied, he is a prophet. They still did not believe that he had been blind and had received sight until they sent for the man's parents. Is this your son? They asked. Is this the one you say was born blind? How is it that he now can see? We know he is our son, the parents answered, and we know he was born blind. But how he can see now or who opened his eyes, we don't know. Ask him. He is of age. He will speak for himself. He's old enough to speak for himself. His parents said, said this because they were afraid of the Jewish leaders who already had decided that anyone who acknowledged that Jesus was the Messiah would be put out of the synagogue. That was why his parents said, "He is of age, ask him." A second time they summoned the man who had been blind. Give glory to God and tell us the truth." They said, "We know this man is a sinner." He replied, "Whether he is a sinner or not, I don't know. One thing I do know, I was blind and now I see." They asked him, "What did we do to you? How did he open your eyes?" He answered, "I have told you already and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear this again? Do you want to become his disciples too?" Then they hurled insults at him and said, "You are this fellow's disciple. We are disciples of Moses." And they threw him out of the synagogue. So this is a crazy story, because how can you see? But I was blind, now I see. This is my testimony. And now they come with theological debates. And he said, "Listen, guys, you can have your theological debates about if this guy is a sinner or not sinner, or working on the Sabbath, not the Sabbath. I was blind, now I see." And that's the thing about a story. Your story is a powerful testimony. You cannot bring in reasoning around theology, because that's your story. That's what you experience. And that's the power of that. I love what is said in Revelations 12, verse 10 to 11. "Then I heard a loud voice in heaven say, 'Now have come the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Messiah. For the accuser of the brothers and sisters who accuses them before our God day and night has been hurled down.'" So this is the entry, talking about the devil, the accuser has been hurled down. And then this part, "They triumphed over him," the accuser, "by the blood of the Lamb, by the word of their testimony, and that they did not love their lives so much as to shrink from death." So it's these three parts, that how we will be triumphant in the end is by the blood of the Lamb, embracing your value. God decided that the price he wants to pay for you is his own life. That's your value. The second part, how we triumph over the enemy, is by the word of our testimony, our story, your history, where God was involved in this blind man's story. That is a powerful, powerful story. And the third part, they did not love their life so much as to shrink from death, as complete surrender. How much do you love your own life? If you love it so much, it will, in the end, it will be taken from you. It will be destroyed. Jesus says, the one who wants to save his life will lose it. The one who gives his life to me will get more and more life. So, if you look at these three parts, have you ever considered that your story, his story, can be something significant in the victory over the evil one, in your life and in other people's lives? So I want to tell you my story, of a part of my story. A couple of years ago, I was crying on a park bench in Cape Town. And I always tease, it says better to cry on a park bench in Cape Town than it will be to cry on a park bench in Pretoria or Johannesburg or somewhere else. So, but I was still crying, and life was falling apart around me. And a bit before that, something happened to me. I had a dream. And in this dream, I experienced God asking me I was in this cave, I was afraid, and there was this wolf coming to me. And then I heard the voice of Jesus saying, "Switch on the light." And I switched on the light. And as the light shone on this wolf, it turned out to be basically a rat, small dog thing without teeth. And it just walked away. And what is this? God's telling me to switch on the light. Put light on the darkness in my life, the stuff I'm scared of. Later that day, I was preaching a sermon. We were doing this series about presence and talking about the invitational style, the sermon we did last week on John 4. And Jesus answered her while I was reading this. Something happened to me. Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it was and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him and he would have given you living water." While reading this, I heard Jesus' voice, the same voice saying that morning, saying, switch on the light. Say, why don't you ask me for water? Why don't you ask me for water? And I realized that for many years in my life, I've been reading the scriptures, engaging with it, but never really grappling and seeing the invitation of, wow, I can also ask Jesus for water. Jesus, give me some of that water. Matthew 5, you're blessed when you're at the end of your rope. With less of you, there is more of God and His rule. You're blessed when you feel you've lost what's most dear to you. Only then you can be embraced by the one most dear to you. I was completely at the end of my rope. It was the beginning of a complete nervous breakdown, and I was a mental health breakdown. And shortly after that, I was completely booked off from work, couldn't do anything. And I realized that I need God in my life. And while doing that, this is the whole thing about evangelism. When someone has a personal need, it's a great time to invite them and tell them your story. It's such a powerful thing to do. Listen here, you are not alone. God is with you. You do not have to go through this alone. So, while this was happening, I read the book by, I forgot his name now, but Timothy Keller. And the book is called The Prodigal God. And it tells the story of the prodigal sons. And this is a painting by Rembrandt. The prodigal son, and it's a fascinating painting. But what I realized was while reading this book that I am the older brother. I'm this guy. I'm him in the painting. In Luke 15 verse 28 to 30, we read the older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. And that's the thing about the older brother. The older brother is when you've been a Christian for a long time, or you're a pastor, or you've been around the bush with Christianity. You've know all the stories, but you don't enjoy it. It's just work and work. The older brother said, my whole life I've been working and doing exactly what you're telling me to do. And not even once did you give me a goat to go celebrate with my friends. And then the father says, what do you mean? You're always with me and everything I have is yours. It's as if he didn't realize that he's with the Father. And that was the sin. That was my story. I did not delight in the Father. I did not ask him for a drink. I did not ask him to bring light to my life. And the invitation of this whole story, this mental health breakdown, was I can now delight in the Father. Just hanging with the Father. Enjoying His presence. Knowing that I am yours and you are mine. I belong to the Father and He belongs to me. Doing the things that He loves. And that's to delight in the Father. And that was the invitation of this. It was the best thing that could happen to me. At that point, I felt like my life was falling apart, and it was for a good reason, because the Father loved me so much. He wanted me. He said, this enough is enough. Stop this performance. Stop doing all these things. I want you with me. So I could delight in the Father. And what a great invitation. While this was going on, I still needed to figure out what's going on in my mind, because I was losing my mind. And I finally got to see a psychiatrist, and there's a chemical imbalance in my life. So this is basically if you have a chemical imbalance, it's feelings of sadness or helplessness, worthlessness or emptiness, overeating or a loss of appetite, insomnia or sleeping too much, restlessness, irritability, a feeling of impending doom or danger, or a lack of energy. I could tick all of those. A deep feeling of sadness, felt worthless, loss of appetite, insomnia, I couldn't sleep, restlessness, irritable, a feeling of impending doom or danger. I was constantly thinking something's gonna end my life now, and a complete lack of energy. And if you look at this list, and you can tick 5 of these, I think it's time to go see someone. Because that's the thing. When we have toothache, we will go to the dentist. No Christian will say, "Oh, how dare you go to the dentist? Don't you trust God?" But when we say the word psychiatrist, it opens up a lot of other things. No, you can't do that. And I was super scared. But when I got there, I just realized, oh wow, there's something wrong, and it needs to be healed. So while this whole story was going on, I was getting to know the Father, delighting in His presence, allowing Jesus' water to cascade over me, inviting His light into my life, into the darkest areas of my life, getting to enjoy being with the Father, and discovering that there's something wrong here, and that's okay. It's very treatable, and we started treatment. This story releases a lot of energy, especially me as a pastor telling you that I went to go see a psychiatrist. Me as a pastor telling you that for many long years, I've been the older brother. I did all the things to tick the list, but not enjoying being with the Father. Now I can say I enjoy being a child of God. It's the best thing ever. Nothing is dependent upon me. It's the Father. He holds everything together. I don't need to be a super pastor because He builds His church. It released me to be a human being created in His image. The best thing ever. So, your 4-chapter gospel, you were created by God for something spectacular. There came a fall. There's the full redemption of Jesus Christ on the cross. And then there's the restoration of God's original intent. And Jesus invites you to ask Him for water. He did everything so we can delight in the Father, just enjoying His presence. And we can see people in this day and age and ask Him, Lord, help me. Thank you for doctors. Thank you for people around me. Thank you that there is awareness of mental health. Because your story can do something powerful. That's my story. What is your story? Can you trust God that your story will do something huge in someone else's life? They triumphed over him, the accuser, by the blood of the Lamb. That the redemptive work that Jesus did on the cross, the value that we are now children of God, by the word of their testimony, your history, your story, and they did not love their life so much as to shrink from death. Complete surrender. Can you surrender to this Father who holds everything together? We're going to journey further along on this in a series we call Becoming Present. It's a course, it's a workshop. We're going to run it in September. And I want to invite you to really join it. It's going to be for 4 weeks, and we're going to look at your unique way of being present in this world. How will God use you? How can and will He use you? Then we have a lot of small groups, Rotterdam, Haarlem, Hillegom, Meppel, Hilversum. There's a Cherish small group, a new one starting in Amersfoort, the one in Woudenberg's going on. Then there's 2 online groups, Utrecht, the Martian, and then there's Movement. It's a men's group in Amersfoort, and that's going to be great. So if you're a guy, we're going to launch that at the end of September, and that's going to be great as well. It's not good for man to be alone. So please connect with us. Scan this QR code to become part of the WhatsApp group, and we want to chat with you. And yeah, there's so many ways of giving your time, your talents, and your treasure. If you scan this code, it will take you to our banking details. And yeah, thank you for everybody that's giving of their time, their talents, and their treasure. This is such an exciting time to be part of a startup church. Because everybody's jumping in and doing something to make this thing a place where we love it being. So thank you for that. So our next physical gathering will be Sunday the 10th of August. Yeah, and may God bless you. We have a SOAP guide for August. It's been released. SOAP is an acronym for, so you read the scripture, there's an observation, there's an application, and then a prayer. And we would like to invite you to journey in the month of August with these scriptures. And if you need prayer, please, we will love to pray for you. We've got a prayer group, we've got an online prayer group, people that will pray for you and with you. So if you need prayer, please let us know. We would love to pray with you. May God bless you.